Long Beach, California, counting down the games that made a killing. We've made our way up and out of the belly of the beast, and we're moving on up to the highlight around the first-class area of the ship. In the nearby Queen's Salon, the former first-class lounge, there have been many sightings, but one common story. It appears as if a beautiful young woman in an elegant white evening gown is often seen dancing alone in the shadows, perhaps because she was so delighted by the game at number 7, Donkey Kong Country.
Donkey Kong Country, when that came out, that was the premiere in 2D graphics. There was nothing better than that. It used this computerized graphics and
this new technique that Rare found of rendering characters that weren't necessarily 3D, but they appeared to be some like a claymation type of look.
For some reason, Rare brought out a Donkey Kong game, the first Donkey Kong game in many years.
You know, Donkey Kong was a lead character. We hadn't seen him in a video game in such a long time. You know, that it kind of, you know, catapulted it into success.
Donkey Kong Country for the Super NES was a big title because it featured Donkey Kong, and he never really had like a adventure game that starred himself. And finally you have something where he's starring himself, and people just ate it up.
Kind of appropriate that we're kicking it in the first-class stakes, because the lead character in the game at number 6 wouldn't even consider slumming it in Coach. And while James Bond has logged his fair share of miles traveling in style, he's never logged as many as when GoldenEye shipped out. The game has sold 8 million copies.
I think the reason why GoldenEye is so popular is because you can actually kill somebody on a Nintendo console.
There was this penchant that Nintendo had for releasing non-violent games. There was nothing that had guns in it. It was just all jumping on people's heads like Mario does.
The idea of killing people in video games never gets old. GoldenEye was the first 4-player console game where you could play against your buddies and kill them.
GoldenEye was the ultimate party game. It was, and is still voted, the greatest console multiplayer game of all time.
It's hard to imagine a game like that not taking off, but there are some games with high hopes that simply crash-landed. Here are some surefire hits that missed.
I would probably have to say Fatal Frame. That should have been a really big hit. The game was really good, the story was awesome, and it just never got the recognition it deserved.
A game that should have been a big hit that wasn't is Rez. It's a PlayStation 2 shooter with vector graphics. For some reason, players just didn't seem to be interested in it. But it's one of the most original games ever made.
Sony's Ico on PlayStation 2.
That's a big one that a lot of the critics love the game, and it played really well. It was a beautiful game and a great story and great gameplay, but the regular Joe didn't know about that game.
It was kind of sort of hidden because they didn't put sort of a lot of pressure onto it and a lot of promotion behind it, but that game was just like an incredibly original game. Everyone should really go and play it. It's really cool.
Well, as Deus Ex sold, it took it a really long time to get to 1 million copies, and that game is just brilliant, and people should have been picking that up like hotcakes. The one that really gets to me is LucasArts' Grim Fandango. It was such a cool game, such a great story, and it was really unique and original, but it didn't sell at all, and it just really pains me as a game critic when you know something is really good and people aren't buying it. It just kind of hurts, and sometimes nobody listens.
Hey, there's no such thing as a sure thing. Of course, try telling that to the fans of the Harry Potter franchise. They ate up just about everything that rolled off of the Potter assembly line, including a nice one-player jobby for the PlayStation. The little sorcerer that could grabs the 5 spot.
Well, there we go. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the success of that is entirely based on licensing.
This Harry Potter game is probably mainly because of the Harry Potter franchise. You know, they're selling not because the game is great, but because, you know, everyone knows the name.
It wasn't the best game in the world, but it did bring some of the same spirit of the books into the consoles.
Gameplay-wise, Harry Potter really doesn't offer anything too unique, but, I mean, Harry Potter is a juggernaut. I mean, it's as big as Lord of the Rings right now, so that's the reason it's selling so well.
You don't have to turn out an E-rated title to appeal to the masses. Matter of fact, Rockstar did the exact opposite when they set out to make Grand Theft Auto Vice City, whose inclusion on this countdown is more than a little ironic, seeing as how much you have to kill in this game that made a killing. Vice City comes in fourth.
Well, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, it's the one that defined the PlayStation 2.
Took the success of the Grand Theft Auto 3 and just threw in the cheesy 80s music, terrible clothing, violence, drugs, women, and it was just a really, really cool game.
Vice City was just, the sequel to this genuine phenomena.
GTA Vice City sold well for the same reasons GTA 3 did.
The whole killing spree.
The gameplay is entirely free-roaming.
Free-roaming world. People were still proclaiming Grand Theft Auto 3 to be one of, the greatest phenomena in the history of video gaming, and then it's like, here's this sequel.
It was probably the most anticipated sequel of all time.
By now you've seen several games that took the world by storm, but coming up after the break, we'll show you some games that released a foul tail with, as we uncover some of the worst-selling games of all time. Plus, we'll find out who rules the roost. Did the top-selling game of all time come from behind the Iron Curtain or beneath the city streets of New York? Stick around and find out when Filter returns.